All right, so we're starting a new project today. Again, this is your digital sketchbook. It's located on Google Classroom. So if you miss a day and you're like, what did we do? This is a guide for what we'll be doing this next few weeks, which is a Zentangle project. I don't know why that's not working. Okay, so this will be your final assignment. You'll get to choose what you want to do, but you will do it on a large sheet of paper, like this size paper. You can choose between a landscape, you could do an object like this, you could do an animal if you want to. My dog is really cute, so that would probably get you bonus points. You could do a portrait, but that's a little more challenging, so you might not want to get that crazy. It will be done in Sharpie, and again, I'm looking for you to fill the page. And it's they turn out really, really cool in the end. So if we look under order of activities, the first thing that we're going to do today is the Zentangle Notes. Okay, and we're going to draw this whole situation in our sketchbook. So the first thing that I want you to do is at the top of the page, I want you to put the date. Today is the 28th September, so 9/20/20. I mean 9/28/20. 20, whatever. You know what day it is, hopefully. Sometimes I know what day it is. Let's move this over a little bit. Okay, and then at the top, you'll put one Zentangle Notes. And this way, when you go to upload this onto Google Classroom, you can find this title, one Zentangle Notes, and you know to upload it there. Okay, so we have a few definitions that we're going to take. And the first one is Zentangle. Zentangle is actually a trademark. So it's a brand name for this method that we're going to use. Okay? So Zentangle is a Zen-like method of drawing using various line designs and repetitive patterns called tangles. Okay? Zentangle is, when I say Zen-like, Zentangle is a method of drawing that's unplanned, and you're using these different patterns and designs that can be pretty simple or they can be very complex. It's up to you. I'd like a little bit of a hint of complexity. And the whole point is that you're using your problem-solving skills and you're using this idea of flow when you draw that puts you in like this hypnotic state. Okay, it's really good for improving like your fine motor skills. It's really good for critical thinking and problem solving, and it's just very confidence building. It's almost like doodling, except that it's called Zentangle. Okay, so line is our second definition. And line is the very first element of art. It's used to make up most other things. So, you know, you use lines to draw shapes, you use lines to draw forms. Technically, letters are lines. So while you're writing right now, you're using line. So a line is a path made by a moving point through space It is one-dimensional and can vary in width, direction, and length. Sorry that my and symbols are kind of weird. You don't have to write that. You can write, the word. Okay, so line is going to be a really important element to learn because from this point on, this is what we use for every project, right? You can't draw without a line. It's the most important part, okay? And then the last definition that we're going to take is pattern. Okay, so a pattern is a regularly repeated element such as a line, shape, or a color. Okay? And when I say element, I'm talking about the elements of art. So elements of art are the foundations of what you'll use to build an interesting composition. So the elements of art are like line, shape, pattern, color. I think pattern is actually a principle. Texture, etc. But we'll talk about that at a later date. Okay, so now we're going to practice a few different types of line. So I want you to draw a grid in your sketchbook. 9 square split grid in your sketchbook. Okay. We're gonna label each one of our sections. So we'll start with horizontal and vertical lines. Horizontal, vertical, and diagonal lines. And I know you understand what that means. So it's pretty simple. Diagonal lines go across the page at an angle. Okay, vertical lines up and down. Horizontal lines left to right. And I'm just gonna fill my space with line. Okay. So the next one that we'll do is organic lines. Organic lines are they're like wavy lines, right? They don't have much structure compared to like a geometric line. So an organic line is wavy. Organic means that you sort of find this shape in nature. Right? Got your wavy lines. Those are very happy. I like them. And then on the opposite of that, you have a geometric line. Geometric lines are structured, so they're straight lines, right? So if I were going to do a geometric line design, it has a lot of structure. So you're going to see a lot of like squares and rectangles and triangles, and that's what a geometric line is. Okay. Then we have hatching and cross-hatching. And these lines are actually used for shading for the most part and creating depth. And they appear as a series of lines. So you'll have a hatching lines will be like, you know, at an angle, 3 or 4 of them together at a time. And artists use these to show depth when shading, and we will get more into that a little bit later. And then cross hatching is using a line that's sort of perpendicular, and it creates a darker shade. So if I were going to cross hatch like the side of an object, if I want to make one side of it darker, I would use cross hatching. Okay. Then we have broken lines. These are pretty simple. So we create sort of a pattern of broken lines. They have varying heights, right? So it's essentially a dashed line, which I know you've all seen, so. This one takes a little bit longer. And this may seem a little silly, but these are all types of line that you'll use in your drawings in the future and even in this project when you go to create shapes and patterns. Sorry? They could, yeah, like horizontal. Yeah, your broken lines could be horizontal, like this. Okay. Then you have spirals and squiggles. Squiggle is a fun word. So, you know, spiral's pretty simple line to use. You'll use this maybe in the future when we do an op art project. And then you have squiggles or loop-de-loops. This is how I exclusively used to draw curly hair, with these little squiggles. Okay. Then you have zigzag. I'm going to draw a sharp zigzag. Sharp. And that's just like, you know. Lines can be really expressive. So for instance, if I saw this sharp zigzag, that looks pretty angry to me. Right? So lines can be really expressive. Organic lines are very flowy. They're kind of happy. They're not, yeah, they're just, these zigzag lines are very sharp and angry looking. And then you have variation in weight, in line weight. So for instance, if I were going to draw this is kind of a basic pattern, but something that I could do is make that my lines on one side look heavier, and I would do that by adding what's called weight. or width. Right, so doing this just makes it a touch more interesting. Okay. All right, and then the last type of line is what we're actually going to be working on, Zentangle line. So there's several different Zentangle patterns, like I showed you, and we'll get into that, but we're just going to draw a really simple one right now. So I'm just going to go with a few lines, vertical lines down the middle. Then I'm going to do diagonal lines in between that connect to these vertical lines and create a pattern. And this is a process that does take some time. Craftsmanship is really, really important with the Zentangle project because of the complexity of the line. Craftsmanship is always really important. Okay. So those are our patterns and our types of line and definitions that we'll need for this project. And good to go.